We do one of these shows a season where we profile New York Times 4-star chef.
Bon appétit, Michael.
There's like only 6 of them at any given time. This is top of the heap, best of the best, good as it gets. That's today's show. Meet Chef Danielle Boulud of Restaurant Daniel.
Yeah, absolument.
It all starts here. It's 9 in the morning. It's quiet. There's no one in the kitchen. I'm sitting here besides $750,000 worth of Bonnet stoves imported from France, the best money can buy. Stocks are made in the morning. Fabrizio's the man. He's here upstairs with us. We're all alone. Let's meet Fabrizio. This must be great for you. Perfect time of the day. It's quiet. The kitchen's all yours. You turn the stoves on. Nobody's in your way.
It's the best time, yes. we can do a lot of work, a lot of amount of work in the morning.
Well, Fabrizio's not the only guy here. In fact, there are people that get here before him. Downstairs, there's been the receiving crew, the baking crew, and the butchers who have been here since dawn. Let's head down the steps. Now, how many types of bread get baked here a day?
Probably anywhere from 12 to 15.
Every day,
Every
fresh.
day.
Every day, fresh for service.
Exactly.
Talk to me about what's happening. I mean, we have all sorts of stuff going on with this oven.
Okay, we have up on top we have the rustic sourdoughs. The middle oven, which is being vented right now, has the 3-seed bread. It's got walnut raisin and olive bread.
Why is it being vented? You're trying to knock the temperature down a bit?
No, just taking the steam out so the bread can then finish cooking from the inside.
It's always a sign of a beautiful sour, those little bubbles on the outside. I mean, that's just one beautiful piece of bread. Look at that color. It's going to be great. What are you working on here? What am I looking at?
This is brioche dough. We're going to put it in a Pullman loaf pan, and it's going to be used for croutons.
So all the brioche that you're going to be baking ends up as a crouton?
Yeah.
So you're baking bread specially for croutons?
Mm-hmm. We even bake bread for breadcrumbs.
Okay. You know, they sell those things, actually. They come in 25-pound bags. You know, they're...
We don't believe them, though.
That's one thing. If I wasn't a chef, I wish I could have been a baker. That would have been wonderful.
Danielle loves his baking. Well, we'll let him tell you why.
I was born on a farm, and we always had, of course, bread was a big thing because every day we were cooking big meal. And as soon as my father retired, he built a bread oven and started to bake bread and bread for himself, then bake bread for my sister, brother, neighbors, family. And he hasn't opened a bakery yet, but
soon.
It's a passion for him.
That's
so
great.
Every time I play around with bread here, it's like being home in the summer with him and bake bread with him.
I know I say it again and again, but folks, it's true. 80% of good cooking is good shopping. You have to have great ingredients. Any chef's going to tell you that. And at Danielle, they do. The seafood is fresh. The meat is wonderful. I mean, look at this seafood. I'm a fish guy, and folks, it doesn't get too much better than this. So many people eat monkfish, they've never seen these guys. Look at that bad boy.
Oh my God.
That's the monkfish.
It's all teeth.
Tell me how the monkfish eats.
So it puts this little rod out, what they call a fishing rod for them. The fish comes along, thinks it's bait, goes there, and the fish opens its mouth and eats it.
Look at that. There's some green, some blue.
Chef, why is this one of your favorite fish?
Well, this is the one I created, the most famous dish I ever made.
Wrapped in
Black sea bass wrapped in potatoes. And I think it's very particular. I mean, I've tried to do the sea bass with other fish wrapped in potatoes, that dish, the paupiette. And not the same, because here the fish stay firm, it cook well, it stay moist, and the taste is delicate. It's so delicate.
Yeah.
Give me one live like this. It's fresh, huh?
I want one.
They're so sweet. They're so briny at the same time. It's like candy.
Like many other French chefs of his generation, Daniel Boulud came to New York with nothing. He worked his way around the hotel circuit, the Westbury, the Plaza Athénée, always doing a fine job. But his real break came with a 4-star New York Times review at Le Cirque. He was in his early 30s, and already he was a rising star.
You're there for a while, you're riding the top, and then you decide to come on your own. Why?
Because that was my first shot as chef restaurateur, and I think we successfully achieved our dreams.
You got 4 stars right
And you
off
know,
the bat.
it's never easy when you open a restaurant. I mean, they tapped on my head and told me this was wrong, this was bad. For me, I think the faith in my staff and my people was much bigger than really the worry about the critics.
please.
One of the great things I see in New York these days is the cheese carts have really come back into fashion in a big way. And for someone like myself that likes to eat, there's nothing like finishing a meal with cheese before dessert or cheese in lieu of dessert, because you've got this extraordinary selection of cheeses that are at perfect ripeness, at the perfect temperature, with the perfect bread and condiments. You really can't do this at home. Pascal, what is your general rule of thumb for how to eat cheeses?
I like to start with goat milk cheese first. Most of the time they represent very freshness. Going to the more complex, in that case the blue cheese would be most of the time at the end.
With the hards in the middle?
That's right, the hard in the middle. Soft cheese, even as a triple cream.
And then very pungent at the last.
Yes.
Because after that, forget it.
It's gone. Yes.
All right, you're beginning to get the picture. Details, details, details. Look at these vegetables. These are coming in from a farmer in Pennsylvania.
Now that's beef.
And a lot of what you're doing is organic?
Most of it is, yeah, 90%.
What other restaurants beside Danielle do you sell?
In the city, there's 28 more.
Okay. All right, that's great.
Yeah.
Beautiful squash. Beautiful stuff. Just picked. I mean, this is the basis of flavor. And what's more is you're going to see these vegetables, these squash, on the plates going out tonight.
Look at this color.
Ça, c'est de Provence.
Almost like watermelon. Amazing.
This is our spaghetti squash. You can actually see the little strands of spaghetti throughout the squash.
A lot of the philosophy in the cooking here is that we try and get stuff that's just dug out of the ground. It's beautiful. They're saying in Italy that this is one of the best years in about 20 years. You had a very good weather for producing truffles.
How would they get? I mean, so people know. I mean, you put truffle seeds in the ground, you water them, and they grow, right? Is that how that happens?
I hope.
How do they get these truffles? Who gets them? Little
we have
doggies, little piggies?
yes, we have in our company in Italy. We have 250 dogs in all Italy, and we find that the truffles only with the dogs, because with the pigs it's too complicated, because the pigs like too much of the truffles. They want to eat.
The pigs are pigs.
Want to eat.
Yeah, that's why they call them pigs.
That's why.
Well, we'll see these tonight on something, huh?
Maybe some cannelloni stuffed with the wild mushroom and foie gras, or the little agnolotti stuffed with the fonduta.
Before we leave, check my pockets. How does a Chinese-American kid with a Long Island accent that happens to speak perfect French also make great Italian food? Well, we're going to find out. Meet Alex Lee, chef de cuisine. So what kind of pasta are we making?
We're going to make fresh, it's a ravioli, which is stuffed with the classic fonduta. The big difference in the pasta that we do here, it's very important. It's a simple thing, but I have to use farm eggs. During my studies I went over to Alain Ducasse. I worked for a year.
In Monte Carlo.
Monte Carlo. And then from there I went over to Italy and I worked in a few different restaurants. And I have a very, very strong passion for Italian food too. I think it's one of the great world cuisines.
A little louder. That's a Parmesan?
Parmesan, yes. We're going to mix a little Parmesan inside. You see the richness of these yolks, they're so beautiful. Now I'm going to kind of incorporate everything together. If you're eating something and the ingredients are very simple, you better make sure that the ingredients are perfect.
Well, that's the hallmark of Italian cuisine, don't you think? I mean, one of the things that distinguishes it.
It's the ingredient driven and the simplicity.
You didn't work it all that long. You're going to form it into little boules now.
Exactly.
Okay.
These are, we'll let this rest for a few hours and we're ready to roll it. This is our very eggy dough that we made before. 30 yolks to 1 kilo of flour. You see the color of the dough is so beautiful. So now we're pretty thin. So thin you can see your hand right through the dough. This is our classic, what you call fonduta which is a fontina cheese with the butter, white truffles, and a little bit of egg yolk. When this is cooked, it'll really ooze out and have a beautiful perfume to it. Now we're just gonna paint lightly the dough. From there, we're gonna pull up our pasta dough to this side. And this is forming our little kind of pocket in there. And there's our little handmade
Beautiful
ravioli. I think you'll be very excited about this.
I already am.
When you bite it, you have like an explosion of the cheese and the white truffle. It's
Toothiness of the noodles is wonderful there. I mean, there's just enough little bite resistance. Kirk, I will save you some of this. You've got to have a bite. Running a great restaurant takes an awful lot of effort. One of the things you have to do is be organized. You got to look at it this way. Danielle's the conductor, and all the cooks, all the butchers, all the bakers, they're the orchestra. Everyone's got to work together. It's practice, rehearse, and then showtime. And really, that's what running a great restaurant is. It's like an orchestra on show night. The curtains open, the conductor taps the baton, and they're off. Danielle's the conductor, and you're looking at the orchestra. I don't know where the baton is, folks, but you get the idea. Where did you work before this?
I was in Paris, in the Ritz Hotel.
The Ritz Hotel?
The Ritz.
I think we've heard of the Ritz Hotel.
L'Espinasse.
With Grey Coons?
Grey Coons, 5 years, and the Castle at every time. I was in Paris, Lucas Carton, 3 stars, Michelin guide. Yeah.
Oh, you were with Alessandro's?
Yes.
Oh, wonderful.
For 5 years.
How's working with Danielle? What's this experience like for you?
It's there's a lot of energy in this place. It's non-stop. It's typical New York City. With Laurent, we used to have an average of 50, 60 covers. Yeah, it's the way 3 times more.
Yeah, here you do 50 covers in the first 50 minutes.
Yeah.
I come in at 10 o'clock in the morning.
Okay, until when do you work usually?
And I work like 11 at night, or midnight, at night, every day.
11 hours, 12 hours, 13 hours a day.
12, 13 hours a day.
Je suis fatigué.
A little bit.
As we head close to service, you have to clean the stemware. And, you know, being that we're all using these beautiful $80 custom glasses, they're steamed, of course. I'd had dinner here a few nights before we did this taping, and I'd eaten this foie gras terrine, and quite honestly, I wondered how they made it. Aren't I lucky? Now I'm going to get to find out. What kind of apple is this?
So it's a gala apple from cette farm.
Then you're going to layer those apples between 2 pieces of foie gras and press?
Yeah.
Okay.
The foie gras terrine needs to be very soft. Inside. We're gonna add the apples. Need to be very, very tight.
Now is this one going to have to be pressed again?
Yeah, definitely. Need to be pressed like about 2 more hours.
In refrigeration?
Yeah, it's gonna be ready for tonight.
All right, things are beginning to come together. It's later in the afternoon. The squash that we saw this morning come in is being made into soup. It was cooked very, very slowly all day, coaxing the flavor out of it. Chocolates being made downstairs. Yeah, that's right, fresh chocolates. Stocks simmering slowly, getting ready to get finished. Bones in the oven, grapes being peeled, marinade set out. The scallops from earlier in the day, we'll see them as part of the amuse-bouche. This is when the menu really starts to fall together for the evening. All the mise en place is building towards service.
Pork belly's been braised for 2.5 hours now.
One of the great signature specials at Danielle is Alex Lee's 5-spice braised pork belly. It's really extraordinary, and I'll tell you a little secret. It's one of Wolfgang Puck's 5 favorite foods on the planet. Hey, Wolfie, you and I agree. I'm with you on this one. It's great. Talk about cross-cultural. Let's see how Alex makes this. So the marination's what, 24 hours?
24 hours. Sea salt, a little sugar, rosemary, sage, garlic, fennel, cinnamon, bay leaf, coriander seeds. Then we poach it in a light stock with some mirepoix for about 3 hours. Now I'm removing from its aromatic stock. Now after this, we're going to glaze this in the oven with some pork jus and the braising liquids. Beautiful, nice lacquered crust.
And just gorgeous, gorgeous caramel across the top.
Yeah.
Just constantly basting,
And we get that almost nice lacquer on top of the pork.
Like mahogany.
Exactly. So, and then we'll let this cool off a little bit, and then we'll cut it into portions and serve it with our lentils and black truffles. And
Voila. Bon appétit, Michael.
It looks like me. A layer of meat, a layer of fat, a layer of meat.
Yeah.
It reminds me of my stomach.
That's good.
Well, enjoy
That's
it.
a good thing.
Let's go.
The wait staff at Danielle is certainly among the best in New York City. It's a tremendous front-of-the-house team. The service is flawless. But beyond that, they're also knowledgeable, constantly being reinforced by meetings on wine and meetings on the food. The more they know, the more they can help you make decisions.
We want to be extremely professional. I will spare no expense to make sure that they have the best situation possible to work, but and to also make sure that they earn a good earning. I feel we have a very happy family and it's also one solid team.
Well, they're doing it. I got to tell you, I mean, I eat all over the country. I eat all over New York, and this is really one of the best rooms I've eaten in, period. I mean, you think of Taiwan, you think of great moments you've had when the service was flawless and seamless, and you just, you glow. It just makes you feel, wow, and this was one of those rooms, and in New York, that's getting harder and harder to find.
I know.
So you're doing it.
Merci.
Following one langoustine, one tartare with caviar, put that for the medium rare, grass medium rare.
In doing a show like this, we're trying to explain what makes these great restaurants so great. Frankly, it's hard to do, but I think you get the sense of it. The details, from steaming the wine glasses to chocolates and bread being made fresh every day, fresh ingredients coming in, cooks that really care and have passion for the food, led by a chef who feels the same. The food's extraordinary. The service is unobtrusive and as attentive as you could want it. Absolutely one of the best dining rooms in the country. So to eat here, to eat at Danielle and a handful of other restaurants like it in America, it's a transforming experience. Granted, it's expensive. I know. I don't make this kind of money either. But you treat yourself once in a while, and I'll tell you, it's wonderful. You leave and you just say, oh, I think I get it now. Well, look, we have to cook something after these shows, and I don't know what I'm going to cook when I go home, so why don't I have Danielle do a little demo? I'll stand next to him, and we'll do something that Danielle would make at home for his family that you can make at home for your family. Let's head into the kitchen.
Normally, I end these shows where I go in my kitchen and I do something. I make a demo, everyone can cook, blah, blah, blah. I'm here with Danielle Boulud, his restaurant. This place is fantastic. What am I going to do? Go home? I'm afraid to boil water after a show like this, So I figure we're going to go in his kitchen while I have him as a hostage, and Chef Danielle Boulud is going to make something for us that you can do at home like I would do, except he's going to do it better than me, huh?
Basically, what I'm going to do.
What are you doing?
Well, I'm going to do a dish I will definitely do at home on Sunday for me and my wife and my daughter. And
your daughter eats pigeon.
Yeah,
God bless
course.
you. God bless
Yeah.
you. God, that's.
She eat rabbit. She eat pigeon. She eat.
I'm jealous. I'm jealous.
All the birds. And so what I'm gonna prepare is a roasted squab. We're gonna do that in a cocotte, like in a sautoir. There's gonna be roasted squab, and right now we're in the fall. It's something very simple, something you feel like it's home cooking, it's homey, and yet it's something I will put on the menu with a nice slice of foie gras on it.
Right, upscale. But simple,
Upscale it.
one pot, basically a one-pan dish to make. Simple.
One pot will do it all. That's the idea, I think, which I like to cook at home because my wife complained about the washing after that.
Cleaning up, yeah. All right, you start.
Let's go. Squab are wonderful. They're very delicate bird, and I think they are much more delicate than duck. Quite tasty on its own. So here I'm cleaning up the front part of it, which is not the most beautiful part to do, but at least someone's got to do it.
Someone's got to do it. If the butcher didn't, it's your job now, huh?
Yeah, exactly. I like to put a little clove of garlic inside and a little branch of thyme inside. And because we are putting that with a little bit of cinnamon, I'll put a little bit of cinnamon inside the squab. Huh? So you always wrap up underneath the back like this.
And get that breast up.
Voila. And then you go like this. And usually you pass the string right behind here. I do it twice so this way it holds better. I like also real root vegetable. This one is a turnips. I'm not gonna bother making vegetable tourné à la française. Right. You remember when you were a chef, they were making you tourné vegetable.
Seven sides.
Seven sides.
We
huh?
counted them.
So
they better
here,
all be the same.
Here for me, it's very simple. Is 2 sides.
Beautiful.
Voila, comme ça. Huh? Jerusalem artichokes. I even remember how to peel a carrot.
Did this once or twice before as an apprentice?
Absolutely, a couple of times, yeah. I was the one during the winter who was in charge of plugging bird all the time. So I will
great job.
I will go down in the basement with about a dozen of pheasant, 15 partridge, I mean, easy 15, 20 partridge, and anything, I mean, wild hair to peel. So it was a job as an apprentice. So here I cut them basically like this, in a little bias. So celery roots, same thing. I mean, a lot of roots, it's better to peel them with a knife than to bother with a peeler. I like parsnip for its pungent little flavor, but not too much of it. And we're gonna put a couple of little...
The small ones.
Exactly. A couple of pearl onion, a bit of thyme, a bit of savory, a little bit of sage. And the figs will come also later, huh? Okay, let's cooking. Qu'est-ce que c'est ça? A bit of a seasoning on the inside as well.
When you're sauteing these small birds like
I'm
this,
just
you're
searing.
starting them on the breast side to get color
Yes,
like this.
a little bit of color like that, huh?
Okay.
I'm gonna put the pearl onion.
Why the cinnamon? Just as an extra little
It's just
component?
as a little thing behind without having domination of spice and all that, I think. So here I'm pushing all the root vegetable inside. You know, like everything in cooking, you don't have to be in a rush. Take your time, let it gently roast. So what do you think? A whole one?
What the hell?
Yeah.
What the heck?
It's our food after all. And that's why I think cooking, it's about how you feel. Yeah. The breast of the squab will finish roasting nicely now.
In the oven.
Yeah, let me put that in the oven.
And about halfway through, we'll throw in the Brussels sprouts.
Yes. Cooking at home with Danielle. Let me crank up the pot again, and I'm gonna now break the squab. Voila.
That's beautiful.
You want the squab to be nice.
Squab
and
has to be medium rare.
Absolutely. The good
Yeah.
thing with squab is that you can eat with your finger as well. And for the jus, I'm gonna just
break the bones up.
Exactly.
Give the bones some color.
And pick up everything. Even the strings have flavor. A little bit of fresh shallots, not too much. A very, very small pinch of garlic. I like to put a little bit of cognac inside, huh? And so if you're at home and you don't have any stock, you put a little bit of water. If you're at Danielle and you have a lot of stock around you,
You guys find some good bouillon and
exactly, and a little bit of a jus.
Okay.
And you don't need much. You just need enough to pick up the sugar. You don't need to cover it.
Okay, now we've got cinnamon, butter, a little sugar.
Exactly, a little bit of sugar. And just caramelize the fig.
Yeah, just to thicken it, huh? For lier?
Exactly, to finish the sauce. So the jus is not how thick it is, how good it tastes, you know what I mean?
That's it.
And the figs, you want them halfway cooked, you know what I mean?
That's beautiful, huh?
Simple home cooking. like cuisine bourgeoise.
Long as it's good, right?
Exactement. The jus over.
What wine would you have with this?
Oh, I'll drink a Rhone wine, maybe a Saint-Joseph.
Yeah.
Or a Croze. But a Saint-Joseph will make me very happy. Voilà. Pigeon rôti au fig et racines d'automne. Basically, roasted squab with figs and fall root vegetables. And of course, a couple of Brussels sprouts.
Hey, I mean, was that hard?
Let's go and have dinner now.
That was easy. Let's go have dinner.
Look at this perfect pink breast of squab. That's beautiful, huh?
Perfect.
And tender.
You know, you can taste the thyme. The jus is actually great.
Mm-hmm.
Simple, clean.
And it has a real earthiness to it, and yet a little fruitiness to make it a little more festive to it. Good piece of bread, a good bottle of wine, a good company, and great food. What else do we need?
Nothing. Not in my book.
Not sure they're good.